No one tells you this part. Not your doctor, not your kids, not even the friends you've had for decades. It's the part of aging that sneaks up on you after 80, not with a big event, but through 100 little changes. The shoes that suddenly feel too heavy. The silence in the house that once felt like peace, but now feels like distance. The way people speak louder around you, even when you don't need them to. It's not just about getting older. It's about feeling like the world quietly shifted without asking your permission. After 80, you don't just notice your body slowing down. You start to feel like a guest in your own life. The things that used to come naturally, socializing, remembering names, even bending to pick up a dropped spoon, now come with hesitation, or worse, fear. And the hardest part? No one warned you about how deeply emotional this chapter can be. Have you ever felt something shift that no one warned you about? Something subtle, but undeniable? Leave a comment and share it. You're not alone, and your voice matters here. Before we dive in, do yourself a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is your space for honest, unfiltered advice about aging with strength, dignity, and a little bit of stubborn wisdom. Let's get into it. Maureen is 83 years old. She lives in a small town outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. In the same modest home she and her late husband moved into over 4 decades ago. She's a retired high school librarian, organized, independent, always surrounded by books and stories. The kind of woman who remembered every student's name, who baked cookies from scratch, and who still sends handwritten birthday cards. For most of her life, Maureen believed aging gracefully meant staying active, keeping a routine, and never complaining. She volunteered at the library even after retirement. She joined a community quilting group. She kept her schedule full, her chin up, and her mind sharp. But something began to shift after her 80th birthday. It wasn't a dramatic moment. It was quiet, gradual, and hard to explain. First, she started waking up feeling like she hadn't slept. Then the stairs in her home, once a breeze, began to feel like an uphill hike. Her favorite garden tools felt heavier. People at the grocery store started offering her help with things she hadn't asked for help with. Then came the forgetfulness, simple things, like where she put her glasses, or whether she'd taken her medication. At first, Maureen dismissed it all. Just a bad week, she told herself. A little tired. But the feeling didn't go away. It grew, not into panic, but into a strange kind of awareness. The world wasn't responding to her the way it used to. Her body wasn't cooperating. Her confidence was slowly unraveling. That realization didn't come with sadness. It came with clarity. Maureen, who had spent her life surrounded by information, suddenly realized how little anyone talked about this part of aging. Not just the physical changes, but the emotional disorientation, the subtle losses, the loneliness that creeps in even when you're surrounded by people, and the quiet fear of losing your place in a world that keeps moving faster. She's not here to be dramatic. She's here to be honest. And she's ready to talk about the parts of aging that most people only whisper about. Truth 1. The vanishing act. People start ignoring you. Maureen didn't notice it all at once. It began with little things, subtle moments that were easy to brush off at first. The cashier at her local store asked the person behind her in line, "Do you need help with your bags?" but said nothing to Maureen. A nurse at a clinic looked directly at her daughter and said, "She'll need to come back for a follow-up." She, not you. That small shift in language stung in a way Maureen couldn't quite explain. Not because she was being mistreated, everyone was polite. But it was a kind of quiet dismissal, a loss of eye contact, a fading of her voice in public settings. As if being over 80 meant she was no longer fully present in the world, but some kind of shadow version of who she used to be. And it wasn't just Maureen. Across the country, many seniors describe the same creeping feeling of social invisibility. It's not outright cruelty. It's neglect, passivity, being looked through instead of looked at. Seniors often find that store clerks, healthcare workers, even neighbors begin to talk around them, rather than to them. This isn't just emotional, it's measurable. Research from senior advocacy groups shows that people over 80 report the lowest levels of perceived social respect in public and institutional settings. The impact? Higher rates of anxiety, lower self-worth, and in many cases, isolation. When you feel unseen, you start to pull back. You speak less. You ask for less. You assume your thoughts no longer carry weight, but the consequences are more dangerous than hurt feelings. Social invisibility is directly linked to increased cognitive decline. When older adults feel disconnected or irrelevant, they're less likely to engage in conversation, participate in community life, or advocate for their health. The brain, like any muscle, weakens when not used. And society's subtle habit of overlooking older adults contributes to this downward spiral. Maureen decided not to go quietly. She began making eye contact on purpose, even when others didn't. She started asking questions, loudly, at the doctor's office. She reminded herself daily, "You are still here. You are still worthy of being heard." And maybe that's what needs to be said more often. You didn't survive 80+ years to become invisible. Have you ever felt like people overlook you now more than ever? Tell us in the comments. Your voice matters, and we see you. Truth 2. Your body becomes a negotiation. Maureen used to walk 5 blocks to the library every morning. Rain or shine, she moved with quiet confidence. Never fast, but always steady. These days, before she even gets out of bed, she performs a mental check-in with her body. She wiggles her fingers, rolls her ankles, flexes her knees. Then she takes a deep breath and mutters, "Let's make a deal." Because that's what life after 80 becomes, a negotiation. You bargain with your joints. You compromise with your balance. And every day, there's a new rule your body insists you follow. It's no longer about how strong you are, but how willing you are to adapt. Reaching for something on the top shelf? That's a risk assessment now. Tying your shoes? Better plan for a chair nearby. Even rolling over in bed can spark a sharp reminder that your spine no longer cooperates like it used to. But here's the thing most people don't realize. This negotiation doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're still in the game. You're learning your body's language in a new season of life. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, over 35% of adults over 80 report difficulty with mobility, even if they were once active. The muscles weaken. The joints dry out. The simple act of rising from a chair without using your arms becomes a challenge, and for some, a hazard. But Maureen didn't give in. She didn't aim to get strong again. She aimed to stay moving. She started with doorway stretches every morning, holding the frame, gently opening her chest and waking up her shoulders. Then she found a local senior center that offered seated Tai Chi, a slow, flowing movement practice that focuses on flexibility, breath, and balance. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't intense, but it worked. And more importantly, it gave her something she hadn't felt in a while: agency. This stage of life isn't about reversing time. It's about cooperating with your body instead of resenting it. Every stretch, every reach, every breath, it's a way of saying, "I still belong in this world." Even 5 minutes of daily motion can mean fewer falls, more energy, and better sleep. It's not about restoring the body of your youth. It's about preserving the body that still carries you forward, one mindful movement at a time. What's one physical task that surprised you with how difficult it became? Share it below. Your story might help someone feel less alone. Truth 3. Your memory becomes a battleground. For Maureen, it started with a word. She was trying to tell her friend about a new book she loved, something about the main character's brother who worked an inn. She waved her hand. She could picture the office. She could see the desk, the phone, even the stack of papers. But the word? Gone. Accountant. She finally remembered. But by then, the moment had passed. At first, she laughed it off. Then it happened again, this time with her neighbor's name. Then again, when she walked into the kitchen and couldn't remember why. Maureen was still sharp. She knew it. She could recall childhood memories in vivid detail. She could quote Shakespeare. She could debate politics like a pro. But lately, it felt like her brain was playing a cruel game, hiding things she knew. And that's the frustrating truth after 80. Your memory becomes a battleground, not because you're losing the war, but because the terrain has changed. People jump to the word dementia too quickly, but the truth is far more nuanced. Mild forgetfulness can be caused by surprisingly simple things. Even slight dehydration slows brain function, especially common in older adults who don't feel as thirsty. Sleep fragmentation, waking up often during the night, disrupts memory consolidation. Vitamin B12 deficiency, which affects nearly 1 in 5 people over 60, can lead to fogginess, fatigue, and slower recall. The good news? These aren't degenerative diseases. They're correctable habits. When Maureen learned this, she didn't panic. She adjusted. She began setting alarms to drink water 3 times a day. She moved her TV out of the bedroom to improve her sleep. And after speaking with her doctor, she started B12 supplements along with iron-rich foods. Within a month, the fog began to lift. Not completely. She still had her off days. But the fear eased. The confidence returned. Because now, she understood her brain wasn't failing. It was asking for help. It's not about perfect memory. It's about staying curious enough to find what works. Your brain may need more time to retrieve a word. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. So when you find yourself staring at the microwave, wondering why you opened it, take a breath. This is not the end of sharpness. It's just a new way of thinking. Ever felt sharp inside but slow on the outside? You're not alone. Let's talk about it in the comments. Your story could help someone take their next step toward clarity. Truth 4. Money anxiety gets worse, not better. When Maureen was in her 50s, she rarely worried about money. She had a modest pension on the horizon, a paid-off house, and a habit of clipping coupons just for the satisfaction of it. She'd always been responsible, always saved a little just in case. She figured by the time 80 rolled around, money stress would be behind her. But what no one warned her about was this. The fear doesn't go away, even when the bills are paid. In fact, it gets worse. Maureen now finds herself checking her bank account almost daily. Not because she's reckless, but because the what-ifs keep her awake at night. What if her roof needs replacing? What if Medicare doesn't cover the procedure she didn't see coming? What if the cost of her prescriptions keeps creeping up? What if she lives to 95, but her savings don't? These thoughts aren't paranoia. They're reality for millions of Americans over 80, especially those living on fixed incomes. Even when Social Security and retirement plans provide a steady base, that money doesn't stretch like it used to. Inflation alone has quietly eroded the buying power of seniors' savings. $1 today simply doesn't go as far as it did even 5 years ago. Healthcare costs are a particular threat. According to AARP, the average out-of-pocket medical expenses for adults over 80 have more than doubled over the past 20 years. And it's not just hospitals. Dental emergencies, hearing aids, home modifications, and long-term care are often not fully covered by insurance or Medicare. And yet, society tells older adults to just enjoy retirement. But how can you enjoy it when one unexpected hospital stay could unravel your financial safety net? Maureen doesn't spend her days living in fear, but she does live with a sharpened sense of caution. She cut her cable bill, reviewed her Medicare Advantage plan, and joined a local group that teaches seniors how to navigate discounts and avoid scams. She's not embarrassed, she's empowered. She knows that planning isn't just smart, it's survival. Because after 80, the goal isn't luxury, it's security. It's having enough to cover the unexpected without sacrificing dignity. And that starts with honesty. Not pretending everything's fine, but having real conversations about what aging costs and how to stay ahead of it. Do you feel more financially anxious now than you did a decade ago? Share your experience in the comments. What helped, what didn't, and what others should know. Truth 5. Sleep becomes a stranger. There's a certain kind of loneliness that only shows up at 3 a.m. The world is dark and still, and you're lying in bed, tired to your bones, but wide awake. Maureen knows that feeling all too well. She used to fall asleep reading, her book slipping gently from her hand. But now, the routine is different. She turns off the lamp, gets comfortable, closes her eyes, and then nothing. Her body feels heavy, but her mind starts racing. She checks the clock. 11:43, then 12:57, then 3:18. The silence grows louder. The worries creep in, and the next day feels like walking through fog. This isn't rare. In fact, over 60% of adults over 75 report regular sleep disruptions, according to the National Institute on Aging. And it's not always insomnia in the traditional sense, it's fragmented sleep. Falling asleep early, waking up too soon, and never quite getting into that deep, restful phase. So what's going on? Aging brings real, biological shifts that impact sleep. Melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body it's time for rest, drops significantly after 75. The circadian rhythm, your internal body clock, starts to shift, making you tired earlier in the evening and more prone to waking before sunrise. On top of that, common medications, nighttime bathroom trips, and even mild anxiety can further disrupt rest. Maureen used to think she just had to live with it. It's part of getting older, she told herself. But when the exhaustion started affecting her memory, mood, and motivation, she knew she had to take action. Not with sleeping pills. She didn't want the risk of drowsiness or dependency. Instead, she tried a different approach, resetting her rhythm naturally. Here's what helped. She made it a point to sit by her window or walk outside within 30 minutes of waking, even if just for 10 minutes. Morning sunlight helps re-anchor the body's internal clock and naturally boosts melatonin levels later in the day. She turned off screens, TV, phone, tablet, at least 1 hour before bed. Blue light delays melatonin and keeps the brain in day mode. She started dimming the lights after dinner and played soft instrumental music to signal her brain it was time to wind down. And slowly things shifted. She still wakes once or twice a night, but she falls back asleep faster. And more importantly, she no longer dreads bedtime. It's no longer a battleground. It's a place of peace again. Because quality sleep isn't just about rest. It's about repair. It's about giving the brain time to clean itself, the heart time to slow, and the spirit time to breathe. Have you noticed your sleep changing over the years? What's helped you find rest? Share your thoughts below. We're all in this together. Truth 6. Friends start disappearing. There are goodbyes no one prepares you for. Not the ones at funerals, with flowers and folded programs. The harder ones come quietly. Voicemails that go unanswered, birthday cards that stop arriving, chairs that stay empty without explanation. For Maureen, it started with Irene. They met in their 20s at a local book club, and for over 50 years, they traded recipes, stories, and late-night phone calls that could turn into laughter or tears depending on the day. But one spring, Maureen hadn't heard from Irene in weeks. She assumed she was traveling, maybe visiting her son in Arizona. But the truth came through a neighbor in passing. She passed away 3 weeks ago. Didn't anyone tell you? Maureen stood still, holding a bag of groceries, stunned. No service notice, no call, no closure, just silence. This is the harsh reality after 80. Friends start disappearing, not just physically, but emotionally, socially, silently. It's not just about death. Sometimes it's dementia that steals a person before their body goes. Sometimes it's distance, or hearing loss, or adult children pulling loved ones across the country to live with them. Sometimes it's just time, peeling people away without warning or ceremony. According to research from the National Institute on Aging, loneliness and social isolation affect nearly 50% of people over 80. And yet, very few talk about it. Why? Because grief at this age feels like something we're supposed to expect. You knew it would happen, they say. You had a long friendship. Be grateful. But grief doesn't listen to logic. It lives in the quiet spaces, when no one calls, when lunch is eaten alone, when a familiar song plays and there's no one to share the memory with. And it's not just about mourning the past. It's about facing a future that feels thinner, lonelier. Maureen struggled with that, deeply. At first, she didn't tell anyone. She didn't want to be that person who always brought up sad stories. She didn't want to seem weak. But she learned something powerful. Naming the grief gives it shape and gives us strength. She began writing letters to her lost friends, reading them aloud, then storing them in a keepsake box. She joined a memory circle at her local senior center, where people gathered simply to talk about those they'd lost. No agenda, just remembrance. Because naming someone isn't clinging to pain, it's honoring love. And love doesn't disappear, even when people do. If you're over 80, you know this ache. It's quiet, but it's real, and you're not alone in it. Who do you miss most? Say their name in the comments. We'll remember them with you. Truth 7. Even basic hygiene becomes emotional. Taking a shower shouldn't feel like stepping into danger. But for Maureen, by the time she turned 83, the bathroom, once a place of refreshment and routine, became something else entirely. The cold tile floor, the echo of water hitting porcelain, the thought of slipping, reaching for help, and finding no one there. So she began to avoid it. First, it was just one skipped shower, then 2, then 3. Not because she didn't care about cleanliness, but because fear quietly took over. This is something few people talk about, hygiene becoming an emotional struggle. And yet, it's incredibly common for those over 80. The body slows down, reflexes dull, balance weakens. The simple act of stepping into a bathtub can feel like walking a tightrope. Maureen wasn't lazy. She was afraid. Afraid of falling. Afraid of being found hours later. Afraid of losing her independence if someone found out. And she's not alone. According to the CDC, over 80% of falls at home among seniors happen in the bathroom. It's the most dangerous room in the house once mobility begins to decline. But here's what makes it even harder. Many older adults suffer in silence. They don't tell their families they've stopped showering regularly. They cover up with perfume, dry shampoo, or excuses. Why? Because hygiene is tied to dignity. And asking for help with something so personal can feel like surrendering control. Like saying, "I can't take care of myself anymore." That's a hard truth to speak aloud. But Maureen found a turning point. Not from shame, but from self-respect. She realized that staying silent was riskier than reaching out. So she installed a grab bar, bought a non-slip bath mat, added a sturdy shower chair, and she told her daughter, "I'm not giving up on myself. I'm upgrading my safety." It wasn't just about hygiene. It was about confidence, about reclaiming a daily ritual that made her feel human again. And for those who can't afford fancy renovations, there are simple, affordable tools: suction cup grab handles, portable shower stools, long-handled sponges to reduce bending, handheld shower heads for easier rinsing, motion-activated night lights to guide late-night trips to the bathroom. More importantly, there's no shame in using them. There's strength in being proactive, because real independence isn't pretending you don't need help. It's making smart choices that keep you safe without losing yourself in the process. Maureen now showers with confidence, not because she stopped aging, but because she adapted to it. And that, more than anything, is the heart of graceful aging. Courage in the face of change. Has a simple daily task become harder for you lately? How did you adjust? Or what would help you feel safer? Let's talk about it in the comments. No shame, just real support. There comes a moment, quiet, unremarkable to the outside world, where something shifts. Not in the body, but in the spirit. For Maureen, that moment didn't come with a dramatic event. It wasn't a fall or a hospital stay. It was far simpler. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror one morning, toothbrush in hand, hair slightly messy, and realized she didn't recognize the woman looking back at her. Not because of wrinkles or thinning hair, but because of the tension behind her eyes. The weight of pretending. Pretending she wasn't scared at night. Pretending her knees didn't ache after standing too long. Pretending she was fine with the loneliness. That morning, she did something small, but radical. She called her daughter. And for the first time, she didn't say, "I'm okay." She said, "I'm tired, and I think I need help with a few things." There was a pause, not of judgment, but of surprise. Then her daughter said, "Okay, Mom, let's figure it out together." That conversation changed everything. Maureen realized something powerful. Pretending is not strength. Real strength is honesty. It's saying, "This is hard." It's admitting when something you used to do effortlessly now takes twice as long. It's sharing pain, not hiding it. And from that turning point, Maureen began making small, stubborn changes. She joined a senior walking club at the local community center, not because she loved walking, but because she missed hearing people laugh. She moved her favorite chair near the window to soak up morning light and reset her sleep. She wrote the names of lost friends in a little journal, lit a candle each week, and read their names aloud. She even told her doctor the truth about her balance fears, which led to a referral for physical therapy and a simple home safety assessment. These weren't earth-shattering changes, but they were honest, and they added up. The woman who once skipped showers out of fear now stands taller, grab bar in hand. Yes, but with more dignity than ever. She doesn't mourn the loss of her younger self anymore. She honors her by fighting for quality of life right now. And the most important thing Maureen learned? You don't win by pretending to be who you were. You win by owning who you are now. That message isn't just for her. It's for you too. Because aging doesn't ask your permission. But you do get to decide how you meet it. With shame or with strength. With silence or with support. Have you had a moment like Maureen's, where everything changed quietly? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the one someone else needs to hear today. If you're over 80 or love someone who is, this isn't a warning. It's a mirror, not to scare you, but to finally see you. Aging doesn't come with parades or applause. It comes with quiet mornings where you question your strength, with missing names, with aching joints, with empty chairs at the table. It's not glamorous, it's not polished, but it's real, and it's yours. You've earned every wrinkle, every story, every scar, and even now, especially now, you deserve to feel visible, heard, supported, because while aging may be raw, you're not done, not even close. You are still here, still choosing, still showing up, and that means something. You are not invisible. You are living proof that strength isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and deeply human. If this spoke to your heart, don't let it stop here. Like this video so YouTube knows seniors' voices matter. Comment with your experience. Your truth helps others feel less alone. Share it with someone who's walking this same road. And subscribe to Better Aging Advice, because here, we tell the truth. Without sugarcoating, without shame, with love, with you in mind. This journey deserves to be seen, and so do you.